Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you guys could just let me know in the chat that you can see me and hear me loud and clear, and we will get started here in about 60 seconds. Awesome. Appreciate you, Ralph. Angela, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. It looks like it's time to start. Um, if you guys could also, I love engagement during these sessions, and hence the title of the session I'm going to be speaking on is how to engage with a virtual audience, because I think having the ability to communicate effectively with someone you physically cannot see in real time is something amazing. And we've been able to do that, especially over 2020, and for some of us even prior to 2020. So let me know in the comments, what you guys do, because I really like to tailor all my conversations to who is in the room specifically. Uh, One of the things that I love doing is not having too many slides. So I promise you, there are no slides today. We are definitely going to keep this more conversational based, more practical based, uh, and you'll see why here in a second. So just let me know in the comments what you guys do particular when it comes to ministry, where your role is, and I'll kind of give you some of my introduction before we get into the meat of the content here. So I've been in ministry, grown up in the ministry since I was a kid, 30 some years, been in the ministry. And I started off being in the overhead projector ministry, where I was literally taking those laminate sheets and putting it on the overhead, and we would project the songs on the screen. And it evolved into being in the tape ministry, and then going into TV, where we did the VHS and edited and sent it to TV stations. And then it's evolved into what we more see now with this virtual experience, live streaming to platforms like a Facebook, a YouTube, and other platforms that are built specifically for churches, being able to deliver the message virtually to an audience of people literally around the world that may never physically come into your four walls of a ministry, of a building. And so when 2020 really happened, it was one of those things that did not take me by surprise, because I also have been live streaming for quite some time, also on my business side and personal side. And one of the key things about video and the ability to live stream is how you connect with a virtual audience. Okay. So I'm loving you guys putting that stuff in the chat. Ralph says from South Africa, became a lead pastor. Awesome. Angela minister to kids virtually through online Bible Academy. Awesome. You guys are really going to help me drive this whole conversation today. Okay. All right. Virtual audiences, how to engage with the virtual audience. What I found in 2020 was that no matter how talented a speaker can be on the stage with the mic in their hand, some of them have had a very difficult time with embracing their virtual audience, how they can connect with their virtual audience. So I want to give you guys just some practical tips. Now, if they're too practical, we'll go a little bit deeper, okay? Because being able to communicate with your virtual audience is different than communicating with your audience that's physically in front of you. Because people that are literally in the same room with you, you can see their eyes, you can see the emotions, you can see the head bobbing if they're agreeing with you. But virtually, in this exact setting right now, is a perfect example. I can't see anything. I don't know who I'm actually talking to. I see names here on the screen, and you guys are new to me. I'm new to you, so we have no type of prior relationship. All we have is the right now, this virtual right now experience. So, in order to communicate with you, I can't rely on things that I may be accustomed to in a physical environment. I have to rely on, hey, let me know what you guys do in the chat, right? We have to leverage what is available to us. And in this case, it's the ability to chat and comment. And so the more that I can have people engage with a chat function, or maybe it's a like function, maybe it's a subscribe button, the more I can get people to engage with the elements that I do have some control over, the more that I can begin to understand who is watching me virtually. Now that I know that Ralph is in South Africa because he told me in the chat, I can start to engage with him and communicate and speak a language that allows us to somewhat communicate. So, for example, I could say, Ralph, I would love to come to South Africa, but when I get there, you got to let me know where's the best place I should eat when I get to South Africa? What do you suggest? Right? Because that allows me to have a dialogue. Even though Ralph can't physically come on the screen, well, I think in this virtual landscape, this technology, he can right here. But even though he can't physically come to the screen, he can still let me know the best place to eat. And Angela can let me know, hey, what are the aspects that the kids are really enjoying during the online experience? Because I have a nephew and he has been telling me stories about how he likes certain classes and he doesn't like certain classes because of the laptop. So I can begin to engage with you guys virtually by having conversation. Now, we have this thing called this hybrid model as well, right? Where we have people in person and we have people virtually. And a lot of people are starting to get back to this model. I'm a huge proponent of technology and embracing technology. And I might even do some whiteboarding as we have time here. But I love the fact that I can engage with people and keep their attention longer than most people can by leveraging technology, because we've begun to incorporate it a lot over the last year and a half, right? I've been able to set up a lot of live stream setups for churches, helping them being able to mic up, use cameras, teach their media teams so that we can expand the messages outside of the four walls. YouTube in particular, it allows some great analytics to let you know where your virtual audience is. And I know that a lot of my virtual audience is outside of the US, which is amazing. But I would never know that if I didn't communicate with them. If I kept tailoring my message to only a certain area, to a certain group of people, without really exploring and asking the questions to my virtual audience, what do you guys want to hear? What do you guys need help with? It allows them to communicate. Now I know the age ranges of people. I know the knowledge levels of people. I know their likes. I know their dislikes. And then in some cases, you can get deeper and know more of the personal aspects of that person, even more so than you may know people that physically come to your facilities. Being able to speak to a virtual audience is a learned skill. It doesn't come overnight. I am an introvert by nature, but I have found it so much easier to communicate through a virtual audience just because I've been able to practice actually looking at the camera. And what I found is that a lot of ministers, a lot of preachers and pastors, they're used to a camera being in the room, but they're not used to actually looking at it and talking, because eye contact is a big thing. If I'm looking at you and you feel me looking at you, then that value exchange is going to be there. You're getting value from me. I'm getting value from you. You may like what I say. You may even dislike what I say, but there is an engagement there that happens all because of the eye contact on the screen. Angela says it right there. It feels personal, right? So being able to communicate through the camera lens is a learned skill. It's not going to come overnight, but the more you practice, even in a setting where I like to demo in real time, guys. I'm a teacher. I'm a tech teacher, so I like to demo this in real time. Even if I'm looking away from this camera, okay, and I'm talking to a physical audience, you can't neglect the fact that there are people watching you live that really want to hear what it is that you're saying. So it's a good point to look over at the camera and just say, hey, virtual audience, even thank you, virtual audience, for attending live and watching. Because in some cases, and we saw a lot over over 2020. Um, there is there are a lot of people that can watch you virtually that can actually come to your physical building, meaning your building has a capacity on it, but this online virtual space has no capacity on it. It amazes me how ministry leaders still aren't really utilizing days of the week outside of midweek service in that primary main Saturday or Sunday service. We have 7 days in the week, 24 hours a day to communicate virtually and grow an audience virtually of people that will support you, people that will give to you, people that will book book plane tickets and fly out just to meet you because you said something that has literally changed their lives. There is a reason that the mega pastors, preachers have gained exposure. And it's not because they're just so great at preaching and delivering in their building. It's because they also know how to communicate with an audience that's physically not even in the same zip code as them. I want you guys to put in the comment section people, and they don't have to be ministers or pastors per se, but people in general that you have never physically been in the room with, but you've met in this virtual space and you can relate to them. Like if they were in your physical state and they came and they did an event or they came and taught a message, you would actually show up. You would even pay money to go and show up. I want you guys to put that in the comment section. These people that you've never physically met, but you would show up because you have met them in some capacity through this virtual exchange, this internet thing that we have, all these social media platforms that we have. Um, Ralph says, does one mention the word value exchange? You don't have to mention value exchange. It's kind of, it's just more of a thought process of if I'm delivering value, if I'm delivering so much value, that person will show up regardless. They will show up virtually, they will show up physically. Now, the more value that you deliver, they will definitely come and physically show up. Ralph said Trevor Hudson's a great preacher, and just mentors and coaches whom I've engaged with through master classes. Exactly. And the more that we can engage with that virtual audience, the more it helps us too on the other side of the camera understand what it is that we need to do better to communicate. Because we've all heard that, and I'm sure we're going to hear it a lot through the entire summit, how to communicate. And if you can communicate with a virtual audience, you are going to be way ahead when it comes to being able to establish a firm presence in what it is that they do. I think about some of the ministers and the preachers that I follow virtually that I have never been in the same room with. And a lot of them, more so now, I've been able to be in some type of convention or some place where they've been at. I've never met them per se, but I've followed them online and virtually for so long that I almost feel like I know them, like I'm part of their ministry. I'm part of what it is that they're doing because I follow them. So another aspect of being able to engage with your virtual audience is to show up. if you don't show up, you'll never grow this virtual audience of people that actually support you. Because it's great to have people close to you that support you, because you need those people. But it's amazing when you have people that literally reach out to you from around the world and say, "Hey, thank you so much for this message. Thank you so much for teaching me this. Thank you so much for helping me get through this." One of the platforms I really personally enjoy is YouTube. It's a platform that I started to put out video content on in January 2020, and I had roughly around 100 subscribers to that channel. And one of the videos that I put up right before the world shut down was a video called How to Live Streaming for Churches. It was called Live Streaming for Churches. Had no idea that the world was going to shut down and so many people would go and watch that video. Now, for context, I've taught how to live stream for churches for about 3 years prior to it. Literally show people software, equipment, what they needed to do it with, people, skills. Like I taught it for years and years and years. And I want you to think about like your thing that you've taught. Like, why aren't these people getting this? I keep showing up. I keep teaching this message. And it wasn't until I put it on a platform like YouTube where it just took off. So many people were actually looking for what I was teaching. So if you have a message that people are looking, or if you have a message and people aren't receiving it, you may be talking to the wrong people. Your tribe is out there, and when you engage with your virtual audience, you'll be able to find your tribe by putting the information out there and showing up. So Ralph had a good question. He said, "Can you explain showing up?" I'm a digital guy. I'm a techie. Okay, so that's where my answer is going to come from. When you show up on a platform, it literally means you're posting some type of content, and content can be audio. We have apps now like Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces that's showing up. You're connecting with an audience in real time. You can make posts on Instagram, IG Reels. You're showing up, giving information, giving something of value, giving inspiration. It can be Facebook Lives, it can be YouTube Lives, it could be talking on a virtual summit just like this. You guys don't just spend your time here just to listen. You're spending your time to get something of value that you can take back and actually apply. The more the more that you get in this session particularly, the more that you would be the more likely you would be to come back and stay connected to me because of the value you received. So if Angela is giving so much value that these kids are connecting with her virtually, they're like, I gotta meet Minister Angela. I gotta meet her. I gotta meet her. I gotta know her. I want to go have lunch with her. Can I call her? Can I talk to her? Like, if you can do that in a virtual space where people want to physically come into a room with you, you have done something. It's even hard to get people in a physical space to say, "Hey, come on, let's go do something together," because it's not quite your tribe. But your tribe, they will show up. And there's this concept called super fans. Super fans are people that will show up when you show up. They will push your message. They will promote you. They will exalt you. They will buy from you. They show up for everything. And if you can find your super fans, you really want to make sure that you're engaging with them on a regular basis. So, to Ralph's question, showing up is basically putting out the information, putting out your message on a regular basis. And there are ways to do it where it doesn't occupy all of your time. You don't have to show up on these platforms for hours and hours at a time. Picking a consistent time, picking a consistent platform and showing up there and letting your audience know where you're going to be at, they will adjust their schedules. I've had literally people adjust their schedules just to attend some of the trainings that I do. Or they're really quick to say, how can I get a replay of that? Because I know you're going to teach something of value. Even if I know that they don't need it and tell them, "Hey, you don't need to be here for this one, you already know the information," they still want to show up. There's a reason, and it's because they're so connected with my message that no matter what it is that I speak, they're going to glean something from it. It could be something totally different from what they actually need in that moment, but they're willing to glean something from it. So I hope that answers your question, Ralph. Angela says super friends will share with others and help grow your tribe. They absolutely will. All right. Let me time check here. Okay, we're doing good on time. So I was going to do about 45 minutes here. All right. If you guys have specific questions, let me know too. Especially when it comes, especially if you have not started to use the camera on a regular basis or communicate on a regular basis. One of the things that my church did actually this last night, matter of fact, it was more of this roundtable discussion for our midweek service. And what that allows for is people to be able to speak that normally don't have their voices heard. And there's something to it when someone has the opportunity to speak, especially if you haven't heard them before. So last night we were streaming on YouTube. Okay. We're talking about how to engage with a virtual audience. We were streaming on YouTube, and typically the format is the pastor teaching, and there may be a little interaction inside of that midweek service. But for last night, it was more of let the body that's there speak. And we also had the virtual panel speak as well, people that were in the chat. So we were putting in the questions and having people respond in the chat. But we had one person in particular. She actually called me. So I'm running the media booth in the back of the room, and I get this phone call while we're streaming, and I know who she is, and I'm like, why is she calling me? She knows we're live streaming right now. And I didn't answer the phone call, and I said, I know what she probably wants. She probably wants to engage in this conversation. And sure enough, I'm looking at my phone, and she says, I can't type everything I want to say right now, but I want to be involved in the conversation. She wasn't even in the room. She was watching on YouTube. So she calls, so I call her back, and I said, hey, you had something to say? She's like, yeah, I got something to say. I said, all right, I want to get the microphone and put you on speakerphone. And sure enough, I put her on speakerphone, and she was talking to the people that were in the physical room. The only reason that can happen is because we created an atmosphere to connect with the virtual audience. We were encouraging to share what it is they had to say. Now, we thought they were just going to type it in and we were just going to relay the message. But when it compels someone to physically pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to be a part of this live conversation, that's amazing. So I definitely encourage you all that are embracing live streaming to don't forget about your virtual audience. Okay. Let me read Ralph's question. Okay. So we use Facebook Live most of the time, but we are trying to build our audience, even though our videos can be viewed over 1,000 times per week. How does one increase that? So for Facebook Live in particular, so one, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to encourage you to add on YouTube Live. Okay. And I'll get into that a little bit later here because we got plenty of time, because I like to cater these talks to the people in the room. So replay audience, I apologize in advance, but I'm going to cater this to Ralph. So if you guys have questions, make sure you ask them. So I'm going to encourage you to add on YouTube Live, and I'll come back to it. For Facebook Live, you're really going to want to encourage people to share the stream and to tag their friends. And from a more strategic thought process, you want to do it at the very beginning or right before you deliver the message, because those are the two times that people are most likely going to join. If someone gets a message to join a live stream broadcast and they come in on a part that is, I won't say boring, but the part that's really slow moving, you don't want them to necessarily come in on like the giving time. That people might be a little bit thrown off. They might not want to be sharing during communion time. It might be a little thrown off where they won't stay. That's because we want people to watch. But if it's praise and worship and you know this song is the favorite song of the church, right before we sing this song, we're, hey, guys, share. And you're literally telling the congregation to share. It used to be a thing. I heard one of my pastor friends, he's in DC, and he told me the story that he was preaching, and I think it was his daughter, and she was on her phone like the whole time. It was either his daughter or a young lady that was the friend, and she was literally on her phone the whole time. And he said that he kept looking and is like, she's not even paying attention. She's just on her phone the whole time, just on her phone. Come to find out, he went and was talking to her. She had taken the best notes that he had ever seen from any of his sermons. So just because someone has the phone, and I'm not saying everybody's using the phone for how they're supposed to be using the phone during ministry, but just because someone has a phone in their hand doesn't mean they're just playing games on it. They may actually be doing something beneficial. So letting the congregation, people know, hey, share this out right now at the beginning of the stream or right before you go into the message, share this out, especially if you know what that topic is going to be about, going into it. That way people have time to actually do it and it doesn't break the flow of service as well, because I'm big on not breaking the flow of service and doing things that are out of order. So you want to make sure you can put that in order. But having people to share and tag someone is definitely something I'd recommend during the live stream. I'm going to come back to the YouTube question because I see it in Eugene's question here. Do you have recommendations for a platform which can engage viewers based on your example? Does YouTube Live do that? Yes. So that is the reason I prefer YouTube in general, because the chat comments can stay on the screen and they're a lot easy to access for the person that may be running the behind the scenes. So when I have YouTube pulled up and I'm live, the chat bar literally stays on the side the entire time. So what that allows me to do as the technical person is I can put in, hey, it's time to give, and I can put a link to the donations. I can put in the scriptures if I wanted to. I can actually see the comments in the chat, and depending on setups, I can display it on the screen to let the person on stage see that there's comments coming through and being able to interact. Now, if you're doing this one person solo and you're actually doing the live stream and you're monitoring your own chat, it's even easier. Just like how I am right now, I'm literally looking. I'll show you guys this view. I'm literally looking at my screen and looking at the chat right beside it, so I can engage in real time, really, really fast. And that's how YouTube works as well. So I love that ability for that platform. Another thing about YouTube is, and I may rub some feathers, but this is just how YouTube works. Okay. YouTube is a search engine, and I love the titles that preachers love to give for their sermons, but you can't find those in YouTube search. So I want you to think about subtitles. That way I'm trying to keep my pastors happy. I want you to think about when your message, what are people looking for on YouTube? Because people are looking for answers typically, or inspiration when they come to YouTube. I'm still big on this one. People were going through a lot of mental things, mental struggles, and they were trying to figure out answers. Why not create a title on YouTube that says how to deal with anxiety. I don't really hear ministers and preachers talk about it with that title for YouTube search, because that's what people are typing into the search. They're not typing in how God can deliver me from anxiety. They're not typing that in. The reason I know that is because I'm a numbers analytics person when it comes to YouTube. But just by changing the title for YouTube specifically, your title to the congregation can be whatever it wants to be. But on that YouTube title search, how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with depression, how to deal with, like, that's the title of the message for YouTube. Because if we're putting it on YouTube, we're not just putting it there for our ministry people to go back and watch the replay. We want them to watch the replay, but we're not putting it there just for them. We're putting it there because we want to send out the message to as many people as possible, the non-saved people included. So if people are going and they're typing in how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with depression, and you show up, they're more likely to watch the video versus how God says that we should deal with anxiety in troubled times. They're less likely to click on that. The saved person will click on it. The non-saved person will probably not click on that video. We need the non-saved people to click on our videos to get the message, because ultimately they need it more so than we do. Now, we still need it, but at least we know part of the answer. We may not know the whole complete answer. We may need the answer, but they really need the answer. And when you get people virtually that can connect with you, and it's not because they saw pastor or minister associated with it, that's how you know someone's really connected with you. Amazing concept. I have a pastor friend that runs these daily devotionals every single morning on Facebook. And it started off with just being his morning devotionals. But he just shows up every Monday through Friday. I think it's 6 a.m. for like a half an hour, 45 minutes, does his devotional, and people will show up, watch the live stream, and go on about their day. That's it. Like it's so simple that it works. And people just show up on a regular basis. All right. Ralph says, can one use Facebook and YouTube at the same time for a broadcast? Absolutely. Absolutely. I use a platform called Restream. In all transparency, I'm associated with Restream, but I've been using them for years. Restream is an awesome platform that allows you to connect multiple social media platforms together at the same time. So you can connect Facebook, you can connect YouTube, and you can go live to both platforms at the exact same time. You're not doing any other work other than connecting your Facebook and your YouTube to that particular platform and hitting go live. And then you have both audiences being able to watch you at the exact same time. One of my favorite platforms to use. Okay. Cool. We still got some good time, y'all. I'm loving this. Let me know some other questions. If you guys have even technical questions like Ralph, let me know some technical questions. Another way that I like to keep people engaged is what I've been doing during this live stream. I wasn't quite sure how the flow was going to go, so I kind of brought out some other cool toys. But being able to visually change what people are seeing is something that you want to do if possible. If you're familiar with how movies and TV work, if you look at a static shot for an extremely long period of time, your brain mentally gets tired of watching that. And if you think about movies, especially action movies, we like to see scene changes. We're actually used to seeing things change on the screen every 3 to 4 seconds. So next time you guys watch TV, then you're really going to pay attention to it. But every 3 to 4 seconds, we're seeing something change. Either a camera view, either there's some words on the screen, maybe there's a logo that pops up, maybe it becomes a panel discussion. The visual elements are something that you want to pay attention to as well for your virtual audience. That will help them stay connected through the entire live stream. For 30, 35 minutes, right? You've been here. But if it's boring, Let's be real. If it's boring, if I lose your attention, if I stop communicating with Ralph and Eugene and Angela and Robin, if I stop communicating with you guys, you would you would you would probably click off and leave and go, who else is talking? What else can I learn? But if I continually to show you visually, I can just visually change elements of the visual presentation along with communicating with you, along with saying your names, you're going to stay engaged. That's the topic, right? How to engage with a virtual audience. Okay. And you can do this again, it takes practice, and you can do this when you still have a physical audience in the room. I have a mentor, and he's really good at how he does it, and you almost don't even realize he's doing it unless you know he's doing it, if that makes sense, right? So he will look at someone towards the back of the room where the camera is, and from the camera's perspective, it looks like you're looking directly at the camera, but he's actually looking at someone in the back of the room. And it's almost like he's having this conversation with someone in the back of the room, but he's having a conversation with the virtual audience intentionally, and asking those questions to get people to engage with him. Okay. Um, Ralph mentioned the names. It's something about mentioning the names, because when you hear your name called on a live stream, your ears perk up, your attention gets, your attention comes back, you're more engaged again. It's this is a conversation. That's a missing element that a lot of individuals use that live stream. They forget the fact that, like, if you want to try to conversate in this, it's not just a one-way delivery. That gets old. We want to be able to say, yeah, thank you, okay. Feedback feedback, positive and negative, is a good thing. So if I don't know that the information isn't worth providing to you, like, if I say, so let's do it right now, let's do it right now, okay. Have you all learned something of value during this session right now? If you have, type yes. Okay. If you haven't, type no. Okay. Either way, it allows me to know who got value and if the message was on point, or who didn't get value, so I can maybe clarify the no's. Maybe someone didn't get value. Good. Everybody got value. I'm just internally excited though. If there was a no, I could at least address the no. What was something missing that I can do better for the next time around? Maybe I wasn't clear on an answer, because assumption is not something we want to do in the virtual world. Okay. We don't want to assume anything, because, again, we don't really know each other yet. I've seen your names one time today. You guys have seen me one time today. So until we really get to know each other, we're still communicating, still learning, right? Still learning, going back and forth. So awesome. I'm glad you guys aren't getting something of value today. That was literally the first question that came to mind. Um, we got like 40 minutes now, I think, or we got 20 minutes. I think there's the ability to come on screen for those that want to, but I will be in the networking area right after this as well. So if someone has a more one-on-one question that they want to go over or discuss or talk about, I'll be in there for a little bit after this, so we can do that as well. Um, Ralph says, what do you mean that assumption doesn't work on virtual? So this conference, I'm going to use this whole entire summit as the example. So this summit is tailored towards how to rethinking the way we do church. And my particular topic is how to engage with a virtual audience. Now, if I came with, and this is why I kind of like to have conversational style sessions, unless I know who exactly the type of person that's in the room, because I don't want to assume who's in this session. if I came with the direction of everyone in this room is a pastor or a minister, then I would expect you all to know more so of how to engage with an audience as a whole. And I would really have tailored this towards how pastors and ministers should communicate to their virtual congregation. That's how I kind of would have tailored that. But what Angela said at the beginning was that she communicates with kids. Now that's totally different. Now, if I assume she was communicating with adults, then adults have a longer attention span. Kids have a much shorter attention span. So her communication with kids virtually is a little bit different. So that's why I wanted to kind of show things that grab attention, re-engage attention, like a camera angle, okay? Because an adult, and you guys will see it throughout the whole summit, most people will show you one camera the whole entire time, and you'll be able to sit there the whole entire time. A child is not going to sit there the whole entire time. They're going to get distracted. Hey, look, I'm going to the bathroom. Like they're out. So if I assume that everyone was coming in here at the same position in ministry specifically, then my message wouldn't be as effective. So that's why asking the questions in the chat is a way that I can engage with you and not assume anything. Phyllis says, excellent point, helpful. It's like I haven't seen Phyllis's name yet, but what did Phyllis do? She put in the chat. So now I know Phyllis is here too. Okay. Angela says, I have 3 to 4 angles in a session with kids. Absolutely. So now, this is so amazing. I even feel more connected to Angela because she says she has 3 to 4 camera angles before I even started really talking about, like, I didn't tailor 3 to 4 camera angles for Angela. I did not know who Angela was. I promise you, Angela didn't know who I was unless she follows me on YouTube. But she's doing something and can vouch for the fact that I'm sure it's helping her communicate better with her virtual audience because her virtual audience is different. Kids aren't going to type in the chat. Some of them may not be able to understand what they're typing in the chat, but their interaction virtually is going to be different. So you can't just get up and just speak the whole entire time and not engage with them. I was sitting with my nephew one day during his virtual school, and I was sitting with both of them. Matter of fact, it's funny how they interact differently, and you'll learn that too. Your virtual audience, they interact differently. Some people will never chat. And so my oldest nephew, he will not use the keyboard. He will not type in the keyboard. He will sit there. He has to be called on before he will engage with you. Once he's called upon, he'll unmute his mic and he'll talk and everything is good. But the whole entire time, if they ask to type in something or something, he'll actually write it like separately. He will not engage. The younger one, oh, he's all about it. He's all up in the screen and like he's just fully engaged with it. Every time the teacher says something, he's always the first one to unmute his mic. Always the first one. So if I'm the teacher and I know, like, hey, I gotta give somebody else a chance. I'm gonna come back to you. Like I see that some people that's my super fan. That he would be the super fan because he's always attentive. I don't have to worry about him not showing up. I don't have to worry about him helping out in the chat. The other one, I need to pull a little bit because I don't know what it is that I need to say to connect with you because I want to connect with you. I want to help you. I want to give you a message of inspiration and encouragement. I just don't know what to say to you because I don't know what it is that you need. But if I assume you need something, that's not going to work either. But if I know that you need something, okay, the next time we meet, this conversation will be tailored around that subject. All I need you to do is just let me know. And that's why the chat feature on virtual is so important. Go back and look at it, especially for my ministers and pastors. Go back and look at what people are saying in the chat. One of the things I do with YouTube is I'll create a video about live streaming and technical setups, and I expect questions to be there. So I actually go back and see, okay, what questions do you have so that I can address them in the next one? That's a way that you can stay engaged with your audience. So the next Sunday that comes around and you see there's a lot of questions in there, or there's a lot of comments about a particular area, pinpoint what that is and come back and bring that back together. Talk about that a little bit deeper, and specifically letting your virtual audience know, hey, I see you. When you guys are putting in something in the chat, I see you. The comments, I see it. So let's talk about it. Let's make sure that we address those as well. Okay. Awesome. Any last questions? I know we're doing about 45 to 50 minutes today. I want to make sure that I put the book in the comments as well, in the chat here. Make sure I put that in there if I can get to it here. But any questions that I can help you guys with as we kind of wrap up? Like I said, I will pop in the networking space for anybody that has any one-on-one type of questions I can kind of help you through. I'll put the Amazon link in the chat for the ministry that impacts. Make sure you guys go check out the Kindle version if you haven't. There's also a hardcover and a paperback version on there as well. So shout out to LaKesha, Reverend LaKesha, for putting that together. Okay. But if anybody has any last minute questions or anything, definitely would love to help answer any of that any way I can. This has been amazing. This has been my second Rethinking Church Virtual Summit and my second virtual conference for churches this year. I'll actually be doing one more it's this month. End of this month, I'll be doing one more missionary churches, and we'll be talking about a lot of the technical side for media ministries. Miss Angela says, what are your suggestions for engaging with an older audience that isn't tech savvy? That is a really good question. So the older seasoned folks, they are not tech savvy. And many of them don't really care to learn about all of this stuff. So we have to make it as easy as possible for them. I've seen a couple different ways. I don't know which ways work better. So I think it's going to really be dependent on that particular person. But I've seen some people actually have dedicated individuals show older individuals just how the technology works. For example, we had not my ministry, but a friend's ministry had people go to their homes and show them how to bring up YouTube on the iPad. Literally, click here, click here. This is how you subscribe to the channel. And every Sunday at this time, click here. That's what they would literally do. Those that are more email savvy, you can even email the URL just so they can view it, because has been a hurdle for a lot of them. They're more likely not going to chat. They're probably going to be one of those people that don't chat in that chat bar. So being able to reach out to them more so physically, the phone call, the outreach ministry, they're going to have some type of part to play in that, because I've found that they will listen. They want to listen. They just don't technically know how to engage with it. Or in some cases, some of them physically can't do it. We had a couple people that were bedridden and they would pull it up in their hospital bed. So they physically couldn't communicate with the message, but they were there. So the outreach ministry would play a part in that as well, to kind of help know if the messages are being helpful and relaying any communications back. Eugene said we had leaders visit elders' homes and do that. It worked. We moved 90% of our seniors from telephones to YouTube. Awesome. And again, that's another reason that I'm a YouTube fan for ministries, because not everyone has Facebook accounts or really knows how to navigate those too. Oh, that's awesome, Eugene. That is awesome. That's awesome. So I hope that answers your question, Angela. Cool. We got 10 minutes left. Um, what other ways or platforms for engagement besides live streams? Um, I'm kind of a fan of text messages. Those individuals that do like text messages and receiving those, there are platforms that allow you to do so. There's some platforms, those ministries that do mobile text to give. Some of the platforms, I think Tidely actually has like a live stream, or not a live stream, but a text system built into it. And they also have like a prayer request system built into it. So some of the text platforms, literally app based, so may have to show them the initial setups and getting set up with it, but being able to either watch a live stream that way on the app, and then the same app be able to give, and the same app be able to send in a prayer request, and the same app be able to get text messages. So that would be something to take a look at as well. There's some pretty cool technologies out here for churches specifically. I've even seen some that look similar to how the summit is set up, where you have virtual seats and you can sit beside a friend type of thing, and then engage with them in video just like this. So you would come into a platform similar to this, watch the message, watch praise and worship, and then virtually you could go into a room where you could show your camera and engage and talk back and forth as well. All right. Well, I hope you guys got some value. Definitely, if you guys want to stay connected to me, YouTube is the best place to find me. I try to post there on a regular basis, and make sure you head on over there if you ever have questions about tech related stuff, and that's where I'll be. And just I reached out to someone who teaches through VIP Kid to figure out how they teach abroad. It blew me away that the software is accessible to anyone. And that is the part about technology and digital that I love. You will meet so many people outside of your zip code that really will engage, really want to hear, really want to be involved with what it is that you're doing. Um, Embrace technology, and engage with those people that are engaging with you. Those people that literally take the time. All right, I gotta wrap up. I'm a teacher, so I sometimes get long with it. If someone takes the time, I'm big on this. If someone takes the time to physically type in something to talk to you, that's a big deal, because not everybody will do that. Not everybody will stop what it is they're doing to type something in. If you watch some of the big live stream shows or the big live stream ministries, and you see hundreds of people watching, there's not always hundreds and hundreds of people typing. There's like the same 20 people typing all the time. So having someone type in a message in chat is a big deal. So definitely pay attention to those. All right. Well, it's been awesome having you all here. Awesome to virtually connect and engage and meet all of you guys. I'll see some of you all in the networking room, and then I'll see a lot of you all around in the other sessions here, because I'll be attending some of these myself, to glean some of the information that other people are sharing. So you all have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you later.